Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another The Path to a New Edition video. Because Wizards of the Coast have sprung another on us. A second playtest package for One D&D. This one entitled Unearthed Arcana Expert Classes. Now, I'll have a full look through it on the desktop in a wee second. We'll go over to the computer. But if you're looking for just a quick opinion, this one's a bit of a mess in my opinion. There's mistakes in it where rules aren't fully explained, which can cause problems. There are contradictions where some rules work in a way which is foreign to older rules and ones they haven't superseded yet. And it's really quite incomplete because there are only 3 classes in this and 3 subclasses. So unless you're willing to play a playtest with only a bard, a rogue and a ranger, then there's just not enough here. That'd have been far better to wait a while and release a more complete package with more classes, especially a better spread of them. So a wizard, a fighter, fleshing out what you really need for a proper D&D party. Anyway, let's go to the desktop and have a full look through them. So this is Unearthed Arcana Expert Classes. Now I thought it was just talking about them treating classes with a certain amount of expert level that was going to give you extra features. But no, they're actually talking about a particular breakdown. As we see here, expert classes. 3 classes appear in this document, each one a member of the expert group, the bard, the ranger and the rogue. Each class appears with 1 subclass, more subclasses will appear in Unearthed Arcana in months ahead. Because they're now grouping classes together in larger groups where they have a shared ability. Now this feels a bit odd to me because I'm a 2nd edition player for many years, and the idea that the ranger and the paladin, incidentally, are no longer part of the warriors feels very, very strange to me. But more than that, as you go through this, they feel very, very different to the fightery types they used to be. They've been very much weakened down. Although they're getting extra abilities to make them interesting and different, they're not what I would consider a ranger. When you think of your classic ranger, you're thinking of Aragorn out of Lord of the Rings. You're not thinking of somebody who casts a lot of spells, and that's what they're changing rangers into. But anyway, we've got lists of feats, we've got spell lists, we've got a rules glossary. It mentions this is playtest material, how to playtest it, that the power level might be a bit whack because these are just being tested. Tells you there'll be a survey for feedback coming out. But most interestingly on this first page, what's ahead in the One D&D Playtest? We've got highlights, revised editions of every class from the 2014 Player's Handbook. 48 subclasses, including subclasses in this article. New and revised spells, new and revised feats. New weapon options for certain classes, which I'm guessing is going to be for the Warriors group. That's going to be their special ability. A new system for creating a home base for your characters. Now this is really good news to me, because I felt it's been lacking since 2nd edition. In 2nd edition, you had your lands, your castles, your titles you were gaining as you went up levels, and you were gaining followers and you were buying in hirelings. So there was somewhere for all your money to go. You're going out adventuring, you're getting all this gold, you've got to buy equipment for your followers, you've got to hire hirelings, equip them, you've got to man your castle, you've got to attend to your lands. It's all interesting stuff, creating a far more epic feel to your character. They're not just a more powerful bloke going out and hitting stuff. They've actually got all these responsibilities as well. And since 3rd edition, that's been missing. Although I'm a big fan of 3rd edition, it is something that changed in the game, and I really am sad it was gone. Anyway, further on we've got revised encounter building rules and new and revised monsters. Well, obviously, because last time they mentioned that monsters don't get critical hits, or at least in that version of the playtest package, well, they needed to bring out new monsters with these extra abilities that were going to compensate for that. Going on to the 2nd page. Parts of a class. Well, they've got their primary ability. Well, this is the new big thing, and it's really lackluster to me. Because the big ability of the experts group is they get expertise in 2 skills at first level, and then later on as they go up levels. And expertise means you double your proficiency bonus on those 2 skills. So at first level, instead of getting a +2, you get a +4. And okay, at 20th level, instead of getting a +6, you get a +12, which is quite a decent bonus. But this really feels nothing. Very, very disappointing. For this to be what groups bards, rogues, and rangers together, that they are experts, it really feels disconnected. You get to pick 2 skills, double the bonus on them. Yippee. Got the class groups, so it breaks down how they are. So experts, bard, rangers, and rogues are polymaths who have the expertise feature and elements of other classes. Mages, sorcerer, warlocks, and wizards. Adepts of arcane magic focusing on utility and destruction. Priests, cleric, druids, and paladins. Stewards of divine and primal magic focusing on healing, utility, and defense. And then we've got the warriors, the barbarian, the fighter, and the monk. Masters of combat who can deal and endure many wounds. I find it really, really weird that paladins and rangers are no longer warriors, but monks are. Monks almost feel like they should be canon the priest more than the paladin to me, but maybe that's just something for me. The artificer is also an expert. Creating a member of the class, it talks you through the features of them. So, we've got the bards first of all. Well, bards are something I'm quite familiar with. They've basically just changed things around a bit. So, they're class group expert, primary ability charisma. We've got the description, which is once more going way back into music and the more traditional bard, whereas the 5th edition bard did make it out that you could be way more a speaker. You can inspire people with your talk. This seems to be chipping away a bit at that, although it's still in there. Creating a bard, we've got the details, hit points, what proficiencies they get, armor training. Yes, armor proficiencies are now armor training, because proficiencies you add your proficiency bonus to, according to the video that Wizards put out, and that was the only proficiency you didn't. It doesn't make any difference to me. It seems a pointless change. You've got starter and equipment, talks through multi-classing, and then we've got things here. So we've got bardic inspiration. Well, this works differently, and I do like the way it works. In bardic inspiration as it works in 5th edition, you get to give out a dice to a player, who can then, in the next, I think it's half hour, spend it on any dice roll. They can add that extra dice to any saving throw, attack, skill check, whatever they want. Can't do it for damage. Any d20 test. What has changed is that the bards now, if they see somebody fail, they can add that to their skill automatically. They can react to it and give that bonus to somebody who's just failed. They don't have to have given it to them ahead of time. They don't need to have planned ahead and given that inspiration out. It can just happen in the middle of the heat of combat, giving it to somebody who's hitting at the big bad guy and just missed. Give them that bardic inspiration. They managed to hit them. Great. They've also got now a healing ability. Immediately after another creature within 60 feet you can see or hear takes damage, you can give them your bardic inspiration dice worth of healing. Inspirational healing, I suppose it kind of fits. I don't mind it too much. Talks through your number of uses. It has changed. The number of uses for bardic inspiration used to be based on the attribute. So for a bard, charisma. So if you had a high charisma, you could get plenty of charges of bardic inspiration. It's now based on your proficiency bonus. So it goes up. You start with only 2, and it goes up to 6 eventually. Not a terrible idea for you to get more bardic inspiration as you go up levels. But you start off with generally less, I think. I think most bards will be starting with a high charisma, so probably have a +3 bonus. But allows you that bit more flexibility. Mentions how the dice changes. You've got spell casting. Bards now have to prepare spells. instead of being more off the cuff the way they were. You've got expertise. Second level, you get it. You gain expertise in 2 of your skills. Songs of Restoration have changed. It used to be that anybody taking a rest and spending their dice to heal themselves, a bard could do a Song of Restoration, and everybody who heard it could add to that dice that we're gaining back. It would heal everybody a bit more because the bard played a soothing song. Now, basically, they get a bard spell. So at second level, they get Healing Word. At fourth level, they get Lesser Restoration. They get ability to a healing spell. They do tend to be bundling everything out to just magic now. Although it's a built-in system and it's tested, I can understand why they did it. I don't like it. I've never liked everybody getting spells. If I wanted spells, I'd be playing a cleric or a wizard or whatever. I don't want to be a bard who just get lots and lots of spells. Feats have changed, but we'll come on to that. Jack of all trades has moved up. I think it was a much lower level before. We've got Font of Bardic Inspiration, where if a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration dice and gets a 1, that use of your Bardic Inspiration isn't expended. So they still get a bonus 1 to their skill, but you've got that Bardic Inspiration dice to spend on somebody else. Feats, you get Expertise again at 9th level, 2 more skills. Subclass features, Magical Secrets is way higher level. I'm playing a 6th level bard in a campaign at the moment. I've got access to Magical Secrets coming from my subclass, which came in at 6th level, I think, rather than way up at 11th. Another feat, subclass features for the Magical Secrets. Another feat, Superior Bardic Inspiration. What they've done as well is they've taken the 20th level ability that you gain for each class, which has always been a bit naff to tell the truth, and they moved it down to 18th level. So the Bard one's quite different, quite useful. Every time they roll initiative, so the start of every combat, they gain back 2 expended use of your Bardic Inspiration. Not bad. You can spend 2 points every combat. You keep it going right through without needing to rest. That's quite handy. Some of the abilities were terrible, though. The fighter ability for 20th level was they gain an extra attack, and that's it. Paladins, I believe, can sprout wings and fly. The player's handbook, the 20th level abilities were completely out of whack and a bit ridiculous. But basically, they were your final reward, because you don't really carry on playing after 20th level. They've kind of changed that, because at 20th level, now you've got epic boons. These are massively powerful feats, or more powerful feats. I shouldn't say massively. They are just more powerful feats. And you can keep getting them as you gain experience over 20th level. You don't gain the other benefits of going up a level, but you keep getting epic boons, and you can flesh out your character by gaining these extra abilities, if you do want to keep playing at 20th level. Not great, but it's a handy way of keeping it going if you are loving those characters. We've got our set list of prepared bard spells, so if you're not used to playing a bard, you've got these spells already memorized. They're a decent selection. The bard subclasses, the example they've given you is the College of Law, which has bonus proficiencies, cutting words at 3rd level. I think it came in lower before, but I'm not sure. Cunning Inspiration, which is a very nice one. Through your studies and your cunning, you've learned to inspire others exceptionally well. When any creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die, that creature can roll the die twice and use the higher of the 2 rolls. And at 10th level, you've got Improved Cutting Words, where not only are you doing your cutting words, so putting a disadvantage, taking points off an enemy attack or skill roll, but you're also dealing psychic damage to them now. You're being so cutting them to the quick that they hurt from it. It's kind of a cool ability. Feels a bit weird. It's getting the bard who tends to buff people, but I can imagine enjoying that a lot. We've got 14th level Peerless Skill, where you roll the Bardic Inspiration, add the number to roll to the ability check, turning it into a success. If the check still fails, the Bardic Inspiration isn't expended. So if you fail something, you can spend your own bardic inspiration on yourself. And so on to rangers. Well, although I can go through all the breakdown of what they do, mainly the changes to rangers are that things are becoming spells. Your rangers are gaining lots of abilities which are more spell-like. Like in 5th edition, the favoured enemy ability from earlier versions had become the Hunter's Mark spell, so it was just something that other spellcasters could learn. It wasn't a unique ability anymore, it was something that lots of people could do. And I don't like that. I much prefer class ability to be something unique. Bardic Inspiration is unique to bards. It's not a spell that a wizard can go out and learn, or a priest or whatever. I dislike them making everything into spellcasters, and this does seem to be going in that direction. So it talks through your favoured enemy, spellcasting abilities, your spell slots, your fighting styles, your ranger subclasses. You gain an ability to move faster, feats, expertise. Everything's pretty much as generic now. Oh, you're gaining a feat. Oh, you're gaining expertise points. Well, that's no different to other classes. You do get some things. Tireless. You can get temporary hit points, or you can decrease your exhaustion. Nature's Veil. Basically, you can go invisible to magically hide when you're in the wilderness. It's interesting. Feral Senses. You can get blind sight up to 30 feet. It's not see in darkness or anything, but it does help. Foe Slayer adds to your Hunter's Mark, just getting a better spell. And then, like other classes, you've got the epic boons. It's got the list of prepared ranger spells, and then we've got the Hunter subclass, Hunter's Prey, where it's interesting because you can add extra damage. Hunter's Law, where you get to make a knowledge roll to know immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities. It's an alright ability. Wouldn't say it's fantastic. You've got multi-attack. You always have Conjure Barrage prepared. It's just a spell you know extra. And Superior Hunter's Defense. When you're hit by an attack roll, you can half the damage. We're on to the Rogues. Well, again, Rogues aren't that different. They've tried to make them a wee bit better. So we've got things like sneak attacks are slightly improved. Thieves' Cant, now you learn extra languages as well as the Thieves' Cant itself. Cunning Action, you get to get an extra action as long as you're dashing, disengaging, or hiding. We've got the Rogue subclass, we've got feats, the Uncanny Dodge is still there. This is all fairly similar. Slippery Mind now gives you proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma saving throws, not just one of them. We've got the Stroke of Luck and the Epic Boons at 20th level. Rogues have Fast Hands, which is quite a nice one. You've got second story work, where you can climb equal to your speed and take a jump action using your dex instead of your strength. You've got Supreme Sneak, where you've got advantage on sneak. Use magical devices, and then Thieves' Reflexes, you can now take a second bonus action on your turn, as long as it's one of the from the list of dash, hide, or disengage. We're on to the feats. Now, something they've added to this. When you go up a level now, at 4th level, you don't get the choice of 2 attribute points or converting each one of those into a feat. You now get a feat, and the first feat is Ability Score Improvement, which gives you 2 ability score points. So instead of your feat you can take those 2 ability scores as usual. However, every other feat also now includes an ability score increase. If you're an actor, you can increase your charisma score by 1 to a maximum of 20. And you get these extra abilities, so impersonation and mimicry. These are things you can do with these feats. And some of them have more, some of them have less. But Athlete, where you can increase your strength, dexterity, or constitution by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain a climb speed equal to your speed. When you are prone, you can right yourself with only 5 feet of movement. You have advantage on any ability check you make for a jump action. And we go through them, and they're all quite interesting. I do quite like what they're doing, although I find it strange that in 5th edition as it exists, you can take 2 feats. You can use both of your attribute points to get 2 feats and rapidly improve your character. Whereas this, you're always getting an ability score improvement. At least 1 point. It's just that if you're choosing a feat instead of the ability score improvement feat itself, it's decided where it's going. You know, durable. You increase your constitution by 1. You don't get to choose where it goes anymore. Makes it a bit simpler. It's not too bad. One of the things in here are the epic boons. So we've got epic boon of combat prowess. When you miss with a melee attack, you can hit it instead. You can't use this until you roll initiative again. So basically, in every combat, if you miss, you can just decide you hit. Dimensional travel, you can Misty Step. You cast the spell. Energy resistance, you can choose one type of energy to be resistant to. Fortitude, increase your hit points by 40. Boon of irresistible offense, the damage you deal always ignores resistance. Luck, you can roll a d10 and add it to your d20 roll anytime. Night Spirit, you become invisible as an action. Epic boon of peerless aim, you make a ranged attack. If you miss, you can hit instead. Recovery, you heal more. Skill proficiency, you're proficient in all skills. Speed, your speed increases by 30 feet. Undetectability, you can't be heard or seen by any means, magical or non-magical, when you're hidden. Unfettered, you can disengage from being grappled, and that almost instantly. We've got the fighting styles here, where you gain bonuses to your attack rolls with ranged weapons, to your armor class, to melee weapons in one hand, etc. They're all fairly interesting. I won't continue going through absolutely everything. We've got the spell lists. Pretty standard. Now we've got the rules, and this is probably the meat of it. We have changed once again the d20 roll. I'll skip on to that. We're back to as it is written in the 5th edition rules, except when you roll a 1, you gain a point of inspiration, which is now heroic inspiration. You gain a point of inspiration when you roll a 1. That's quite interesting. You've failed to do something because you rolled a 1, but you've gained something out of it because now you've got inspiration and you can do better next time. So you don't feel so down because you've rolled a bad dice. But it must be an unadjusted 1. So if you get to re-roll it, as halflings do on all 1s they roll on d20s, you don't get the inspiration. So halflings do not benefit from this at all. They haven't thought about that. So a halfling has to ignore their ability to re-roll a dice to gain that inspiration like everybody else, or halflings just don't get as much inspiration as everybody else. It's not a great idea. Other things in here, they've added barkskin, and they made this that it's a huge thing for rangers. In the video, they talked at length about this, but I read it as flawed. Hey guys, Editing Freddy here. I was reviewing this as I'm editing it, and I decided to look up temporary hit points, and it turns out this next section I'm about to say is total rubbish. The way temporary hit points actually work is that when you get more temporary hit points, you keep the higher amount. So, if you have 10 temporary hit points, and you get 6 more, then you can keep the 10 or you can keep the 6, but you'll probably keep the 10. If you've only got 4 and you get 6 more, then you keep the 4 or the 6, so you'll probably keep the 6. It's up to you which lot you keep, but you'll generally keep the higher. You do not add them together as I thought that you did. So, barkskin, as I'm about to describe, doesn't work that way. What it does is it gives you your attribute bonus plus your proficiency bonus worth of temporary hit points every round, which you can burn through and then they bounce back. So essentially, if you've got +3 from your strength, +3 from your tribute bonus, then you've got 6 hit points around, which are temporary, you can burn through, and then you get them back each round for 1 hour. Which is kind of nice at low level, few light hits, but going that by 20th level your attribute bonus is only going to be +6. You've brought your attribute up, so maybe get a +5 bonus. That's only 11 hit points around. That's pretty trivial and unimportant. So Bark Skin can be handy at low levels, but I think it's going to be useless at higher levels. But anyway, back to the video. The target's skin assumes a bark-like appearance, and at the start of each of the target's turns, the target gains a number of temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Now, I imagine that means that every round you start with that amount, not it adds and adds and adds, because bark skin lasts for up to an hour. Now, a round is 6 seconds, so let's say you've got a ability modifier of 3 and a proficiency bonus of 3. Let's say it's 6. So every round you gain 6 hit points. So if you cast the spell and then wait for a minute, you've gained 60 hit points. If you wait for 10 minutes before you go into the next room, you've gained 600 hit points. I don't think that's how they wanted it to work. So that's flawed the way it's written. I think they like the idea of you constantly regenerating these hit points as you go into combat, but temporary hit points stack on top of your ordinary ones, so you can have 600 if you want, unless the rules have changed drastically somewhere else, which I haven't noticed. We've got blind sight detail, divine spells, exhaustion, the expertise details here. You gain expertise, you gain it in one skill which you have proficiency. You can never have expertise in the same skill proficiency more than once. So expertise is something you get 2 skills at in the experts group and then 2 more later. All it does is double the proficiency bonus. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for that check. Flying speeds, grapple conditions, guidance, help actions, heroic inspiration, it goes through that. You're still only allowed 1 at a time. You've got hides, incapacitated, influence actions, the invisible condition, light weapons, which are slightly different because you can now attack with your offhand without your strength bonus pretty much automatically if the weapon is light. So anybody carrying 2 daggers gets to attack twice. They don't get to add their strength bonus to their second attack though. As long as it's light weapons, and short swords have been added to that. So anybody fighting with 2 short swords instead of 1 long sword, they get to go twice in every action. Not sure how I feel about that. I know it's pretty similar to 5th edition, but it feels subtly different. And I'm not sure in a good way. Ritual casting's been slightly changed. Mentions that short swords are simple weapons rather than martial weapons, so easier to use. What else we got? Musical instruments, primal spells, swim speeds, tool proficiencies, teleportation, tremor sense, and unarmed strike. Oh, I also meant to mention long rests. They still work pretty much the same way as the last Unearthed Arcana, that if a long rest is interrupted by combat or 1 hour of walking, casting spells, or similar activity, the rest confers no benefit. So if you're attacked while you're on guard duty, although you can do guard duty for 2 hours without interrupting that long rest, if you're attacked and you go into any kind of combat, then the long rest is wasted. You don't get your to heal, you don't get your spells back, etc, etc. And that really does feel a big change. I'm surprised they haven't modified that in this version. But anyway, I've whittled on for absolutely ages about this. These are only my initial thoughts. I haven't done too many digging. I haven't playtested this, obviously, but I can see some stuff I quite like in it. I like the general direction they're going with the bard in some of their abilities, but as I said, I really don't like putting everything off into spells. Just giving you free spells doesn't feel like an extra ability which makes your class unique. It just feels like you get something that everybody or many other people can get. But anyway, thank you very much for watching as you always. But you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.